Hi guys, welcome to the podcast, I Need More From You. I'm your host, Dr. Kristin Oakes, and in this podcast, we're talking all things health and wellness along with life, from being a wife, a mother of 5, and a CEO, how to juggle it all while still staying sane, at least most of the time. This is real life stuff, so I want you guys to buckle up and let's thrive. No excuses. Hey guys, in today's episode, I've got Benjamin Kunzel here joining me. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I met Ben many years ago in 2016.
10 years ago, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, basically 10 years ago. So we have a lot of history together. I wanted to bring him on because he has such an inspiring story, and he really is just, you know, a truly unique individual, and he has so much to share with all of you guys. And his journey, what he's gone through, where he's at today, and, you know, where we're going in the future. So I wanted to bring you on here. Thank you for joining me today. And, you know, really just starting with your story. When did you start jiu-jitsu? Let's just start there, because I met you in jiu-jitsu. I feel like that's a huge part of your life and your story. So let's just start there. When did you get started in jiu-jitsu?
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 11 years old.
Okay. For
self-defense purposes. I would always fight, specifically with my siblings. And I would get beat up, and I wanted to beat them up, so I started training.
It's a good goal.
Yeah.
It's a good reason to get started.
And then once I started, I remember I fell in love off the first class, and I never stopped.
Beautiful. Okay. And so you continue to train jiu-jitsu. You were born here, not Paraguay, right?
I was born in Paraguay.
Okay.
But I was born American because my grandpa on my mom's side is American.
Okay.
Shout out Grandpa Lee. And we moved here when I was 4 years old. So I grew up in a little suburb, and it's called Weston. It's like an hour, 45 minutes from Miami. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to Miami when I was 16. I've been here ever since.
Beautiful. So I moved here with my family in 2016, and we started training at Fight Sports.
Yes.
And that's where I first met you. Ben, literally, like, my fundamentals of jiu-jitsu is because of you.
How long were you in that fundamentals class?
I literally lived in fundamentals because I did not want to go to the next class. I was so intimidated by it.
Which is so funny, right? Because you were in fundamentals for so long, and then finally when you left fundamentals and you went to the beginners class, your fundamentals were so solid that you were beating up the beginners.
So I love that. I love that. And that just goes to show you how important a strong foundation is, right?
Exactly.
And so you can always just build off of that. But I remember just being so intimidated by that bigger class, and I literally could have just lived in fundamentals if y'all didn't kick me out. That's how I feel. So I started training at Fight Sports, met Ben there, and Lily that's my oldest daughter. She was like, 4 years old? Maybe?
More or less.
Like 4 years old whenever we moved here. I'm trying to think about the timeline. 2016, she was born in 2012. So yeah, she was like 4 years old whenever she first got started into jiu-jitsu. And I mean, you guys did a private like
every day. Yeah, Monday to Friday, pretty much.
Literally. So Lily Jiu-Jitsu, shout out to Ben, because
Lucy too.
Lucy too. Okay, so then Lou came into the picture in 2015. So she had no choice. She was just going to train, and that was going to be it. Even if she didn't want to, and she was, chasing butterflies.
She was a Sotogari queen.
Yes. But it took a while for it to catch on. So all of our fundamentals and more obviously came from you. I mean, you built us up. You taught us so much, and we were competing. I mean, all the things. So
great times, huh?
Yes, so much fun. It's crazy when you think back, like, how fast time has flown by, right? Like,
it's crazy to me seeing like your kids now.
Right.
And there's two that I didn't even know. That it blew my mind.
Exactly.
Legacy and
Legend.
Legend.
Yep.
Legend.
So both of them, I mean, I have 5 kids, and they've all grown up, you know, being around MMA from the start. So jiu-jitsu is just a part of our lifestyle and, you know, what we do. So
Yeah.
you taught us so much from that, and it's really instilled a lot of, I feel like being involved in any mixed martial art, it instills a lot of great characteristics in people, right? The discipline, the humility, the confidence.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much grit too, right?
It's cool. It's funny. Like, once you learn to fight, you no longer lead to fight, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like there's not that ego, and it's kind of taken out of the equation because you realize how quickly, you know, someone can take your back, choke you out, you know.
Exactly. And then also, it's like you get all that energy out in training.
Right.
So then somebody.
It's a good
messes with
outlet.
you. Yeah.
It's a good outlet, a healthy outlet.
Exactly.
For sure. Okay, so that's a little bit of our backstory from, you know, how we met and everything like that. And I want you to share your story. And, you know, Ben is a quadriplegic.
I am.
If you guys couldn't tell from you can't tell when you just look at him because he's a stud. He's jacked over here, you know.
Shout out Mission 9 Plus.
Hey. So I want you just to share your story of, you know, like you were competing all the time. Like you were, I mean,
Yeah. So
such I think, you know, an icon to me in jiu-jitsu from what, you know, like your fan base and being out there, everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, so I started training when I was 11. I did my first tournament when I was in 8th grade. So what was I, like 13? And it was my first time ever winning anything. I had one fight. I did a uchimata, got the 2 points, and then I think I passed the guy's guard, and I just held on side control for dear life. And the ref raised my hand, and I remember it felt amazing to have everybody there cheering me on and hyping me up. And it was the first time that I felt like I did something right in my life. You know what I mean? And at that moment, I chose that's what I wanted to do with my life. Mm-hmm. And then I kept going. Eventually, I moved to Miami, and Cyborg told my mom, she was like, "You need to take this kid to the world championship." And my mom was like, "Him? You really?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, this kid's a stud, whatever." So my mom paid for my ticket. She paid for my sign up, and I went. Lost my first match. I was super nervous.
Where was Worlds at this
in
time?
California,
Okay.
Long Beach, I think it was.
Okay, same place, like always. Okay.
And from then on, I was like, okay, well, this guy who's like, I don't know how many time world champion sees my potential. So clearly there's something there. And I just really dedicated myself full time. And also my parents were going through a divorce at the time. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty hectic divorce. So it was like a nice place to just like, instead of going home and dealing with the drama, I would just
go to the gym
and forget about
Train.
it.
Yeah.
And just let all my energy out there. And I took it pretty far. In 2021, I was purple belt, ranked number 2 in the world under IBJJF. 2023, I was ranked number 11 in the world at brown belt 1 week before the world championship when I broke my neck.
Mm-hmm. 1 week before?
7 days. 7 days before. So it was the Monday. That following Monday, I think I would have gone out to compete.
Wow.
But I broke my neck. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I broke my neck at like 10:30, 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. At 2 p.m., I had a appointment to sign the lease. I was going to open up my own gym.
Wow.
So.
Ben.
Yeah, crazy, right?
I didn't even know you were going to open up a gym.
I was going to open a gym.
That's super dope.
Yeah.
In Broward.
In Broward. It's going to be in Plantation, Fight Sports Plantation.
Beautiful.
And then a year went by, and I mean, the injury was crazy, right? I was like fully paralyzed for a long time. I couldn't even move my arms.
Going back to, so you were training, you're getting ready for Worlds. Okay. And then I remember you told me this before. You were doing a fireman
carry.
There you go.
Yeah, I did a fireman carry, slipped my partner.
On the sweat.
Yeah.
Because the mats are always super sweaty.
Jiu-jitsu.
You know.
I fell, and the guy fell on my head. Mm-hmm. And my neck just popped.
In that moment, did you, like, what was going through your head? Like, this is just another injury because jiu-jitsu
I didn't think it was that serious. I understood that I couldn't move. Mm-hmm. But I didn't understand how like spinal cord injuries worked, so I was like, I'll be good in a month. Like, this is probably really crazy, but I'll be fine. Is what I thought. Mm-hmm.
You didn't lose consciousness or anything.
I was fully awake the whole time.
Okay.
It actually didn't even hurt at the second it happened because I had adrenaline from the fighting and everything.
Right.
Then the ambulance ride to the hospital was heavy. The ambulance ride to the hospital, every time there was like a bump or like a turn, the bone would like jam more into the spinal cord, and it was like a sharp pain. Mm-hmm. By the time I got to the hospital, I was in excruciating pain, and they were asking me a bunch of questions, and I was like, yo, just like put me to sleep and make it go away.
Yeah.
And then they did that. And I woke up with a neck brace and fully operated.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was
May 23rd, 2022.
May 23rd, 2022. That's right. Legend's birthday.
That's it.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you woke up from spinal surgery. What was the initial treatment protocol for you after surgery?
Initially, they gave me a bunch of pills. Actually, they gave me Oxycontin. And that was really bad.
Yeah.
Because they were like, hey, are you in pain? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I wasn't really even in that much pain. I was just like, yeah, like I'm in pain. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, take this. It'll make everything better. And I was like, okay. And I take the pill.
You were done.
And then I was super high. I felt amazing. I loved it. And then as soon as it ended, my brain hurt. My head didn't hurt. My brain was in like a serious pain. And I told the doctor, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm in serious pain. They're like, oh, here, take more. They gave me another one. And again, I'm high. I wasn't as high as the first time, but I was like, oh, I'm high. And then it ends and my brain hurts twice as much. And the doctor's like, oh, take more. And I was like, dude, get that thing away from me. I don't want it.
Like you're in this cycle.
Yeah. And then I never took it again. And then they gave me these pills that help with muscle spasms, but they make you lethargic and they have a bunch of side effects. So I stopped taking everything cold turkey. Mm-hmm. I don't take any of the pills except for the ones Mission Med Plus gives me.
So that was really post-op. It was just pain management.
Pain management and then spasm management.
Okay.
And then like the hardest part really was like the protocol was just a lot of PT and occupational therapy, learning
How long did you do that for?
At least a year.
A year.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
I had 1 month living in the hospital doing it pretty much full time. Mm-hmm. And then I had like 6 to 8 months doing outpatient. Mm-hmm. And then I went out of my way and I paid like a private PT for a long time. And then nowadays I just train.
You're just doing everything on your own. Were you ever in an electric chair?
I was in an electric chair for a long time.
For a long time?
Yeah, first year and a half.
How long were you in the power chair?
I was in the power chair for about a year and a half, I want to say.
Okay.
So the first time I was in the power chair, I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital bed for like maybe 2.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then finally they brought me a little electric chair. And they were like, oh, like be really careful. People are really scared. And I was like just sick and tired of being in the bed. And
you were ready to just rip out of there.
I put that thing in full speed and I ripped it. And I remember I crashed into the wall. I made a hole in the wall in the hospital.
Ben!
Chaotic.
What?
Chaotic.
Oh my gosh. They're like, get this. Who gave this guy a license?
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out the power chair.
Yeah, and then because before my arms weren't strong enough to push a wheelchair. And then it was interesting actually. I saw other quadriplegics that had been hurt for longer in manual chairs.
The hospital.
Yeah, like there's a big support group there, and there's a little gym downstairs for people with spinal cord injuries. So it was really cool. Mm-hmm. Met a lot of people that helped guide me in the process.
Nice.
And one of them is one of the guys on the rugby team. His name is Ledwar.
Okay.
And he was in his manual chair, and he's like a college student studying engineering, and he actually builds adaptive things for people in wheelchairs to make their lives easier.
Wow, that's super cool.
Super cool. And he was like, bro, why are you in a power chair? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And so then I went and I asked my doctor, I was like, hey, like, can I go to a manual chair? And he was like, nah, don't go in a manual chair. You need to protect your shoulders. And I was like, well, like my shoulders are just getting weaker now. Like I want to push. And then eventually he was like, okay, fine. And he prescribed me the manual chair. And I bought the manual chair and I've been in it ever since.
I feel like that's like the best thing you could have done.
Yeah, I still use the power chair. Like,
why are you using the power chair?
Because sometimes I train really hard and I'm tired, but my dog needs to do exercise, and I just put that thing in full speed and I make her run.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so it has its uses, right? But for like a physical perspective, you know, pushing yourself to be more comfortable in the manual chair and like utilize those muscles and stuff like that.
Even like yes, of course, physical, but more than physical, mental.
You felt more confident being able to do some more stuff for yourself.
I was incredibly depressed in the power chair. Imagine just doing this all day. This is all you do. This hand is just like holding me up so I don't fall, and then this one's like, and it's
so mental, nice. Like your mental space in the power chair was just
sucks. And then once I made it out and I'm in the manual chair, I move. I think, especially like being a professional athlete, like you're used to moving all day.
Of course.
Imagine going from that to just laying in bed.
Yeah, that would definitely be tough. I mean, that's a hard, like you think quality of life, right? So the mental, the physical, everything. Okay, so you went from your power chair, you got your manual chair, you started, like, what changed for you to finally get a fire under your butt and, like, you know, change the way you were doing things? Because I know we didn't get started with Mission Med until December.
Yeah.
But before that, you started training, like you were actively competing.
So I have.
What did it look like post-injury for you?
Post-injury was a lot of just doing PT, standing up, just trying to get my body to work. The first year was me trying to get my body to work. And then it like settled that this injury is really serious. And for me to walk again, it's going to be a long, long time. And if I just dedicate myself full time to that, then I'm not living life. Right? I have to be able to enjoy life, do sports, have friends, work, etc. Right? And so then I was like, okay, let me not focus so much on PT and just try to live life. And I have a really good friend. Her name is Ashton Penny. She's a pro bodybuilder. And she invited me one day. She was like, yo, let's go to the gym. And I went to the gym with her, and I like fell in love with the gym. And then since then, I've been working out pretty much like 4 or 5 days a week.
That's amazing. So you took what you learned from PT and just implemented it into...
Yeah, honestly, I just kind of like, I took really what I learned from like my whole life as being an athlete and just adapted it to my new limitations.
Right. And you started competing, right?
Jiu-jitsu. I did. So last year.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Last year, AJP, they have para jiu-jitsu.
Okay. I didn't even know that there was a league.
I had no idea.
Do we call it a league? Is that a federation? What is it?
So AJP, it's like the Abu Dhabi Federation for Jiu-Jitsu. And they have regular jiu-jitsu, professional jiu-jitsu. They pay their athletes. And then they also have amateur para jiu-jitsu league. And in Brazil, it's pretty big. The World Championship is in Abu Dhabi. They do it every year. And then last year, they did the first event ever in the U.S. It was in Texas. And they should have a quadriplegic division and a paraplegic division. But there wasn't any other quads signed up, so I went to do the paraplegic division. And I had 2 fights, lost them both, but I got 3rd place. Had fun.
That's fun, right?
And then
But there was an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Quadriplegic and paraplegic, right?
Yeah, it's huge. So
like, you need to like rep and bring more awareness so that more quads will participate.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
And so then they did like a super fight for me, kind of, which is with the organizer of the event. He only has 1 leg. Okay. And so but he knows the rules and he knows how a quadriplegic would fight. So he fought using like the muscles that a quadriplegic would use if we were fighting, and I choked him. Yeah. I don't know if he let me or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was fun. I had a good time.
Right? It was fun.
Yeah. Got a nice little highlight.
There you go. Okay, cool.
And it was nice. And then they told me, they were like, oh, like in Abu Dhabi, there's going to be a world championship and there's going to be other quadriplegics. And I bought my ticket. I signed up. I went to Abu Dhabi by myself. I flew across the world.
How long was that flight?
Like 12, 14 hours, I think.
Wow.
I forgot.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was.
But it's fun. It's an adventure, right? Okay, so you went to Abu Dhabi.
And I reached out to some Brazilians that were there. I shared a room with 2 guys, a paraplegic guy, and then a guy who I believe what he has is MS, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he's good enough to walk, or cerebral palsy, maybe one of those things.
Okay.
He's good enough to walk, and he was good enough to drive.
All right, so he was tootling y'all around Abu Dhabi.
He was driving us around Abu Dhabi, yeah. And that was fun too. I had 1 fight in Abu Dhabi. Okay. I lost. I fought a guy who's a quadriplegic from Brazil. He's winning all the tournaments in Brazil because he moves his legs.
Okay, so he's a quad that can move his legs.
He's a very high functioning quad.
Okay, so when we're talking about the different divisions, you know, typically it's white belt, gray belt, blue belt, purple, whatever, right? So how are they breaking this down for?
So there's no weight division and there's no belt division. They strictly put it by injury diagnosis. Okay. So if you broke your neck, you're in the quadriplegic division. Okay. How bad your neck is, complete, incomplete, and all of those things. They don't really have that division. Versus like in wheelchair rugby.
We're going to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. Each player has a classification. Okay. And depending on your classification of function is what position you play and your role on the team, etc.
Okay.
That's the next step, I think, for para-jiu-jitsu. But for that to happen, there needs to be more popularity in the sport so that they can really dive it down. Because right now, if you divide me just into my classification level, let's say, I'm not going to have anybody in my division because nobody else has signed up, right?
Right. Okay. So it's a way of just, until there's more people that are actually participating, it's hard to divvy it up and make it more of a fair, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Matches, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went to Abu Dhabi, you competed, and then have you done any more jiu-jitsu since?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I kind of lost a little bit of motivation just because to compete, I've been training and I did the push-on event. But to competing wise, I lost a little bit of motivation just because it's fine to find a fair match.
Right.
Right. And so it's like I'm spending this money and I'm traveling and I wouldn't say wasting my time, but I'm taking my time out to go do this. And then I go there and I'm fighting guys that have way more function than me, and it makes it difficult, right?
Right, for sure. That's fair.
Yeah, but I do jiu-jitsu as a form of therapy. Actually, just last week, we did jiu-jitsu without walls. Or was it 2 weeks ago? We did jiu-jitsu without walls. I have a nonprofit. It's called the Push On Foundation.
Push On Foundation. Okay. Tell me about this nonprofit.
Something me and my sister and two friends created after my spinal cord injury, which is like after you're injured and you have a spinal cord injury, it's so hard to like do sports, and like just to get a chair you need like $10,000-$15,000, and then like it's difficult.
Right.
And so we created this nonprofit to help people do sports. So like we partner with a run club, for example. That was our first thing. Every Thursday, we take
every Thursday with the run club.
With the run club, it's Run Herd.
Okay.
We were actually there when they opened the run club on the first day because they're friends of my sister, and so we just went to support. And then they loved us, and we were like, "Yo, can we like partner up?" And so every Thursday we meet at Magic 13, the brewery.
Yep.
And I take people in wheelchairs. Everybody else goes, and we all push alongside the people running. And it's cool because like if somebody in a wheelchair needs help, there's able bodies there to help. And then we inspire the able-bodied people. Like, yo, if this guy in a wheelchair could do it, you could do it. Come on, let's go.
That's motivating, right?
Yeah.
How far are y'all running?
5K.
Okay. I told you we're going to do this one of these
I'm waiting for you. I'm
going to make the kids do it with me.
Please bring them on.
Okay. We're going to do this.
It's a great group of people.
You're doing this too.
Nice.
Just so you know. I'm signing you up.
That's funny.
That's super cool. Okay, so that's your nonprofit. Started with Run Club, and then you hosted an event for jiu-jitsu.
Well, we started with the Run Club, and then I've done a few workout clinics, which is like I teach people in wheelchairs how to work out, and we have like a little class, and it's fun. And then
how often are you doing those, or it's just kind of sporadic?
Like quarterly. Whenever I can get a gym that's willing to work with us.
Okay.
It's the truth. And then I did the Jiu-Jitsu Without Walls. We partnered with this rehab company called Rehab Without Walls. They helped us organize the event, and we did a big open mat, open to people from all schools. We had over 100 people there.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was a beautiful event. We raised, just in like hamburger and t-shirt sales, we raised like $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is money that we're gonna put back into the foundation.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really fun stuff. It was cool to see the disabled people training, because it was like you see the disabled people fighting disabled people. You see able-bodied people fighting and training with the disabled people, and then you have like the able-bodied people fighting. We even had Hayer and Gracie show up, which is really cool, because I used to fight him all the time in the absolutes back in my competition days. Pretty like full circle moment.
Right.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice.
That's super cool. So what's next for your foundation? What are you planning next?
So right now, I recently started the push-on developmental training for wheelchair rugby. We meet on Wednesdays after work hours, so like at 5 o'clock in Plantation, because we have a lot of guys in Boca. We have some guys that live in Plantation, Coral Springs area. We have some guys in Miami, so that's like the happy middle ground.
Right.
And we're really just trying to develop their skills, these players' skills, so that we can do better. Because South Florida has talent, but South Florida team isn't well funded. They don't have that much
resources to support it. Yeah.
So a lot of the talented players, they're playing for Tampa, they're playing for Jacksonville, who have a little bit more funding, a little bit more support.
Right.
And then there's like a few young guys down here in Florida that we aren't on those big teams, but we want to be good and we want to grow, but we don't have enough people to really build a proper team. So right now we're just trying to develop those players to either so we can go and play for the big teams, and then eventually if we get enough talent down here, it would be cool to start a proper team here in South Florida, call it like the Push On Rugby Club or something.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And then we can compete here as a team in South Florida. That's the long-term goal.
Long-term goal. Okay, so y'all are doing that every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to talk about you're still training jiu-jitsu. How did this rugby fire get started?
So originally I got invited by Ledoir, and then
That's the guy that you met at the hospital.
yeah.
Okay.
And then it's a fun sport, right? And then I went to do the first tournament, and I liked it. I would do it just for fun.
Yeah.
And then when I got attention from the coach of Team USA, and he invited me to go do the talent ID camp, I was like, oh.
He says that nonchalantly, like I get invited by the coach of Team USA. Okay, then. Okay. All right. So you got invited to go to camp.
To the talent ID camp, and then I was training. I wasn't like killing myself training or anything. I was just like training,
For fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went over there, and I loved it. I loved the structure. I was impressed by the support that these athletes get. It's like being a professional athlete. And I wasn't even it was just a talent ID camp. It wasn't even like Team USA. So then I told the coach, he put me in for the tryouts. So the way it works is the coach handpicks 35 athletes from the US to go to tryouts. And he put my name on that list. So in January, I went to the Team USA tryouts, and
Where were those?
It was in Lakeshore Foundation. It's a place in Alabama.
Okay.
That's where the Olympic team trains, Paralympic team.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I went out there, and I was expecting to get cut the first cut, right? Because I was like, I've only been playing for a year. I'm playing against guys who've been playing their whole lives. And I went, and I made the first cut.
Were you just so stoked?
Yeah, I think the coaches saw like that I have that dog in me.
Yeah.
Because when we do the first training session, it wasn't even a rugby session. It was just like agility and endurance testing, pretty much. And I was doing really well compared to some of like the other. I was kind of keeping up with the USA athletes.
Nice.
And so a lot of them were even kind of, there's something called drafting when you're pushing a wheelchair. Do you know what drafting is?
Drafting, what is that?
So it's like, let's say I'm pushing a wheelchair, I'm breaking the wind, so I have resistance.
When you say you're pushing, like you're
I'm moving myself.
got you.
Right?
Okay.
I have resistance. I'm breaking the wind, and so a lot of guys, they'll go behind you, so that they're just following you. They're not breaking the wind. They can kind of cruise right through the workout. And on the first day, we did a mile around carpet, so it's harder to push on carpet than it is on concrete. A mile just to start. That's like how we started the
warm
day.
Up. No big deal. No big
and it was
deal.
as fast as you can. They were timing you.
Okay.
And I had me and then like 4 or 5 of the guys on Team USA drafting behind me for 7 out of the 8 laps. And then the last lap, they all passed me. And I think the coach was like, okay, like for this kid to like go and keep up with these guys for the whole time. And they all passed me at the end, but
they were riding your tail the whole time. You did all the hard work.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, like.
And then obviously they're all way more skilled than me and wheelchair rugby and everything, but I think they saw that I have that dedication, that I want to be good, you know? And so they kept me around, and then second cuts came and I stayed, and then the third cuts came and I didn't make it. That was like when they announced the team. But the coaches told me, they were like, dude, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Try again next year, you know? So we're working on it.
That's a huge accomplishment. To get invited.
Yeah.
You made it through the first 2 cuts.
Yeah.
And then how many did they end up picking for the team?
They chose 20 guys on the team. 20
guys on the team. Okay. Yeah. And you were one of the final.
Yeah, I was with the last 2.
Amazing. So that's a huge accomplishment. And you haven't even been playing rugby for...
Well, now I've been grinding.
Well, now you're grinding. But before this...
I'm training like a crazy person now.
Yeah. Okay. So now you got a fire under your butt, and you're committed.
I'm gonna make the team next year.
Making
it's
the
gonna
team
happen
next year.
Like I'm gonna make it happen.
Okay. So we know it's gonna be in January, 2026. What is the game plan from now to then? Like, is there another one of that? What did you call it? Team ID or something?
Talent ID.
Okay. So Team ID. What? Okay. So January 2026. Is going to be the next actual team tryouts for Team USA.
I don't know if they'll have me back for the next Talent ID, because like...
Is that just kind of like a scouting event?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I feel like they've already kind of scouted me, right? They told me that I would be part of like the developmental team for USA, which means that like if there's a developmental tournament where other countries I have developmental athletes, they may reach out to me and invite me. So in the meantime, I'm just training really hard. The number one team in the USA, club-wise, is based out of Tampa.
So close.
Yeah. And they actually, it's crazy. It's this guy, Mike Delancey. I don't know where they get funding or how they do it, but they're balling, and they have all the best players, or a lot of the best players. So they have two teams. They had the number one team in Division 1, and then they had the number one team in Division 2, which was so good, and now they're both in Division 1. So they have the number one team in the U.S. and the number 6 team in the U.S.
Wow.
And nothing's official yet, but I've been talking to them, and they're interested in having me be on in their second team, the number 6 team, next season.
And when does season start?
It's ending now. Nationals.
It's ending now.
Nationals is gonna be in May.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, like when May happens, it's over, and then next year it'll be like during the winter.
Okay.
And so I'm just training really hard. In March, they invited me to their team training so they can like test me out and watch me play and stuff. So I'll be training with them in March.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Okay, so that's in Tampa. So how do you stay on like Team USA's radar? You're doing your weekly, you're training weekly with a nonprofit.
That's it.
But what else are you doing? Like
I run at the run club. I have rugby practice every other Sunday with my team. I lift weights 4 or 5 days a week. On my own time, I do like medical ball drills to like pass the ball farther and better and more accurately. I watch tape to develop my like game IQ. Just do my best.
Doing your best with that.
That's all I can do, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's amazing. So you haven't been doing this very long, and obviously you've come so far already, and you're going to go to Tampa.
And if I don't go to Tampa, there's other options too. You know, it just
like
depends
whatever
wherever
happens,
I fit, right? Wherever I
right?
fit.
For sure. I mean, that's,
next step is to get my own chair too.
what do you mean your own chair?
So I don't have my own rugby chair.
You don't use that chair?
No. It's like a sports chair, and it's like
there's a sports chair.
It's made for like crashing into people and like.
I need to see what this rugby actually looks like.
It's really cool. You'll see.
Is it like
it's like
hardcore?
Serious. Yeah, like we crash into each other. People fall out
What?
of their chairs.
No way.
I went
Do y'all
to a
wear
tournament.
helmets?
No, I went to a tournament in Kentucky, the biggest tournament in the U.S. 20 teams from all around the U.S. came to play.
Wow.
It was really cool. And I fell. I ran over the ball. The ball was like bouncing, and my wheel went over, and my chair tipped over, and I fell. Yeah. So there's like 2 different kinds of chairs. You have an offensive chair and a defensive chair, and depending on your level of function is what chair you're in. So there's a rating from 0.5 to 3.5.
Okay.
And depending on how disabled you are, more or less, is where you go. So I'm a 1.5 out of 3.5. Meaning that
Where's the, like 0.5 is the worst?
0.5 is you have the least function.
Least function, okay.
So you're like, maybe you have really weak arms or whatever the situation is. And then 3.5 is like almost paraplegic. Like you have to have at least 3 limbs affected. So technically it's not paraplegic, right? But like 3.5, you're pretty high functioning. You're almost a paraplegic.
But you can't have a whole team of 3.5s. Because you said earlier something about it depends on your level, like your position.
Yeah, so on the court, you can have a maximum of 8 points at a time and 4 players.
Okay.
So you need to do the math there and build a lineup that fits. And if you're a 1.5 or below, you're in a defensive chair. And if you're a 2 or above, you're in an offensive chair. Right now, I'm in a weird situation because I don't have my own chair. And I have a friend who's a 2 who has his old offensive chair that he doesn't use anymore that I'm using. But I should be in a defensive chair. I would be much more useful to a team in a defensive chair. So I applied for a grant from the Way Forward Foundation. I'll hear back in March, and then hopefully they'll get me a chair so that I can play the right role that I need to play.
That would be so dope. That's awesome. I didn't even know that there was different types of chairs and stuff like that. Okay. Super cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. We like crash into each other. People fall out of their chairs. It's a full contact sport, and it gets really intense.
I mean, first of all, I haven't followed normal rugby, right? Or what do you call it?
Well, yeah, normal rugby.
But you used a word, able-bodied rugby.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'll give you some background on the sport itself. The original wheelchair sport is wheelchair basketball. But wheelchair basketball is like dominated by paraplegics who have really good hand function that can shoot the ball and they're faster. And so the quadriplegics were having a really tough time like fitting into wheelchair basketball. And so it's a group of guys like 40, 50 years ago. I think it was in Canada. They all got together in their everyday chairs and they started crashing into each other and they made this like adaptive basketball and it was called murder ball.
Murder ball. That sounds comforting.
Yeah. And then murder ball got big and it started spreading. I don't think anybody died, but it got big and it started spreading. And then eventually it became a Paralympic sport, and they changed the name just to make it more fitting. And they called it wheelchair rugby because it's easier to get sponsors and promoted in the Paralympics and all that, right?
For sure.
But it's not actual rugby. It's like a combination of rugby, hockey, basketball. It's a whole thing.
It's like a hodgepodge of bringing it all together.
Yeah. That's
super cool. Exciting. I mean, I'm glad that you found something that, you know, you're super passionate about, and, you know, just your confidence just it's so bright. And so I think that that's one of the things that makes you so special is, you know, you've gone through these difficulties, and, you know, you still have a road ahead of you, but just your confidence, your optimism, I think that's really inspiring for a lot of people that are struggling with, you know, being paraplegic, quadriplegic, whatever it is. So
yeah, I think it's even more than that. Like the people I think I help the most are like fully able-bodied, like,
because
people.
They're like, how the heck can you, like, I'm able-bodied and I'm dealing with this stuff, but you are so positive and have this light about you. That's inspiring.
That's cool.
That's so true.
It's nice to have a good impact on people.
For sure. And, you know, I think just having a platform so you can share your story and like what you're doing and how, you know, you were at your depressed and on rock bottom, and then, you know, you're just flourishing. So
I think the number one thing is taking action.
You have
to take action. Like it's like if you're not taking action, you're gonna like get anxiety and go crazy.
If you don't like the situation that you're in, you've got to change it, right? And that's by taking action.
Yeah, it's like cliche, like whatever you're not.
What do they say? There's a quote. So we got you started with Mission Med back in December.
Yes.
We did your blood work. We went through everything. You know, we developed a protocol specifically for you. Physically, Ben, I feel like you have like muscle. You know, you put on muscle here. Do you remember what your weight was whenever we started? I don't remember what your weight was whenever we first started. I'll have to look back at your chart notes or whatever. But like, I just feel like your muscle definition is like, you just look so different to me. I feel like you look thicker.
I feel way stronger. I'm also training harder. I have to give credit to like
your diet, right?
I'm eating cleaner because Dr. Oakes made me.
Yes, that was interesting.
And then also, I mean, I feel better. I have more energy to do the things that need to be done. I'm recovering faster. So it allows me to train better and do more things.
Of course.
Before, I would train hard for a day or two and I was destroyed. I couldn't come back. Now I can train hard. I mean, obviously I need to take like lighter days and harder days, but I can train all week now and I'm fine.
That's so incredible.
I can rest 1 or 2 days of the week and I'm good. Before, it wasn't like that, right? Yeah. It just feels, you know what's really cool? My favorite part about Mission Med Plus.
What is it?
Everyone around me gets sick. They all get like sniffles and sneezing and coughing and the flu, and I'm fine.
You're chilling.
Life is good. One time I like tried to get sick and I was like semi-sick for like half a day. It's wonderful. It's really great.
That's awesome. I love that. So we're definitely supplementing all of your micronutrients, optimizing everything. Since adding in the peptides, do you feel like less inflamed? Do you feel like you've had any changes in like
the number one? So the
movement.
Peptide,
what is it?
The peptide that I'm taking is PDA, correct? Okay. The number one thing that I'll feel is like sometimes I'll be pushing in my chair. I'll be really like my shoulders will be hurting. Sometimes I'll even feel like a sharp pain in my shoulder. I'll inject the PDA, go to sleep, wake up a new person.
Wow.
Fresh, ready to train as hard as I rock.
Okay.
It's really nice.
So the anti-inflammatory effects, obviously for pain too, and I mean that's really incredible.
It really is.
And you know, I hear this story a lot, but for you with your injuries, it's, you know, just a different perspective on it. Of everyone raves about PDA, you know, PDA BPC 157, similar. PDA just has an added arginate group on it, but everyone tells these same stories about how the recovery is so much better, how they feel, you know, with their aches and pains, just the injury recovery side of it. So for someone with your injury,
argue that my digestion is even better, like all around.
Gut health for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, you know, one of the best peptides for your gut health, just helping to heal and seal. And your gut's your second brain. So, you know, and you've changed your diet too. So
correct. I still don't need like perfect that.
There's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about balance. We're not doing what we were doing, which
No, yeah.
We're
She made me cut back on the French fries.
yeah. We can't have French fries every day.
Every now and then they're good though.
You can splurge here and there, okay? But we're not going to do it every day, Vin. So anyways, you've changed your lifestyle, you know, like your diet, your exercise regimen, you're being consistent with your supplements, you're being consistent with your peptides and your protocol. And so you can really see the changes, you know, that it's made, but also you can feel how it's, you know, affecting you with your energy and your
100%.
all of that sort of stuff. So
I'm
I
a
think
huge fan.
I think that's super cool.
I tell everybody to do it.
It's real life. It's real life. If you are consistent with it and you're dedicated to it, you know, there's actual. So I definitely want to repeat your blood work, you know, within the next month or two, see how everything is looking, do a comparison. And we've got plenty of time before, what is it, January 2026 for your Team USA rugby tryouts?
Yeah. So it's like a fine line, right? Because I don't think USADA or WADA like approve peptides for athletes, for example, right?
So we had to cut that off.
Well, yeah, I couldn't do it if I want to make the team, right? But since I didn't make the team, we have another year to keep improving my health and work on it, and then we'll readdress the situation if I make the team next year. Right?
And we'll write, you know, medical necessity letters to whatever we have to do. Just, I think being transparent about everything and being upfront and honest, and then getting guidance from what's they allow and don't allow, like that's, you know, the best way to do it.
Agreed.
Trying to hide stuff and go about it that way, that's never good for anybody.
No.
So full transparency, you know, we'll support you the best we can based off of their rule set.
Cool. I can't wait. I got to make the team first, so a lot of work.
That's okay. You're crushing it. We've got plenty of time, and I mean, you were third cut last time, so you got this for sure in the bag. Okay, so we talked about jiu-jitsu, we talked about rugby, we talked about Mission Med, and you know how it's been impacting your health. Anything else that you want to share with, you know, the listeners and people that see this podcast? What advice would you give them?
That's funny. I always get asked this question. I never know what to say.
And you never know what to say.
That's so funny.
You're put on the spot. Okay, so if you are having a conversation with yourself when you were post-injury in the hospital, what would you say?
Don't worry, bro. It's all gonna be okay. First instinct is to panic because we don't know what's going on, but like, it always works out. I have this. My grandpa used to always tell me. He would say, God is your friend. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I do pray to God. And I think God's my friend. Like, he's always got my back, you know, like no matter what situation I'm in, like I always end up okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're going through it, just like, God's got you, bro. Do what you can.
And like what you said earlier, take action, right?
Take action. Exactly. With what you can, right?
With what
What's
you
in-
can.
what's in your
What you
control?
can control.
Yeah. Do it right.
For
But
sure.
what you can't, bro, like, it is what it is.
For sure. Okay, so with this, this podcast, it's called I Need More From You.
What do you need from me?
No, I need you to tell me, what else do you have to give? Like, what is the next step for you, Ben? I need more from you. So tell me, what are you doing next? There is no excuses, by the way.
Next, I'm gonna go train some more. We have the push on developmental training tomorrow. I'm excited.
Okay.
We have 4 athletes signed up.
Beautiful.
We have a whole training regimen for everybody there, and I'm pumped to take the whole South Florida to the next level, and I'm pumped to get people with disabilities out into the community and living everyday life, and let's just keep on keeping on.
For sure. And hopefully getting your new chair in March.
Hopefully, if I get approved, I'll order it. It'll be here in a few months.
Okay,
Getting
so
me a new chair
getting you a new chair, pushing on, right? And if people with disabilities or able-bodied people, whoever wants to get in contact with you, support your nonprofit, like where do they need to go to take that
So
step?
if you're disabled and you want to come do sports, shoot me a message on Instagram at Ben Kunzel, or you can also send a message to Push On Foundation on Instagram.
So it's at Push On Foundation,
At Push On
and then
Foundation.
it's at Ben
Kunzel.
Kunzel, because I always spell it wrong.
And then if you're interested in donating, pushon.foundation is our website. We have there. All the money goes straight back into our program so we can help disabled athletes do more sports and live an active, healthy lifestyle. And that's it. Thank you guys for your support, I guess.
That's beautiful. Ben, Thank you so much for joining us today. It was
Thank you for having
awesome.
me.
You're amazing.
Love you. Love your whole family.
And
you know?
we love you too. You know, we just want the best for you. Continue to shine. And I mean, the sky's the limit. So
Thank you.
push on.
Push on.
Hey, hey.
Mission Med Plus.
Thank you guys so much for listening today. Subscribe so that you can hear more. This podcast does not establish a patient-provider relationship, nor is it medical advice. If you'd like to see me as a patient, please contact my team so you can thrive.